Before I hand it over to Bernard, Bernard is the founder of Clearscope, the which we like to call the leading SEO optimization software for high quality content teams. And before Clearscope, Bernard started an SEO consulting agency, was a growth advisor, and led growth at several startups. So I'm also going to drop in the ways that you can connect with Bernard if you would like to after this call. And I'll drop in ways you can connect with me too, just in case. But yeah, I'm popping the mic over to Bernard now.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda. So every time I get introduced, I'm always like, oh, this is such an awkward feeling. But
Did I miss anything? Did I miss
no, no, no. Just I'm always like, ah.
Yeah.
Uh, so yes, we're here because we want to announce a lot of really awesome stuff that we've been working on at Clearscope. And to give you a sense of, what's coming up, and then some high-level directional ideas that we're pondering for the next big thing to launch and work on at Clearscope. So what we're going to cover today is to explore the new features within Clearscope. That's going to be, auditing existing content seamlessly, detecting content issues and opportunities, and the fact that, all plans are mostly very flexible, very customizable. I say mostly because if you're on an enterprise plan, those are a little bit different. Then we'll jump into, what's to come. So, very shortly, we're going to be following this up with a notification or alerting system where you can get insights into, well, what's going on with your content inventory. We'll then talk about some roadmap ideas, and then we'll turn it into a format where you can ask Amanda and I anything, whether that's Clearscope, SEO, algorithmic, we're here to answer all
And
questions.
if I might jump in, we have that
Please.
very, very exciting announcement today, which I'm really pumped about, the new feature that rolled out today. So yeah,
Yes, of course.
very
Yes.
excited.
So let's jump into what's new. First, just a observation, right? Maintaining existing content is really challenging, right? There's generally multiple stakeholders where there's a content management system team or, developers working on the web property. Google is constantly doing algorithm updates to, find out better ways to serve us content. Content itself is in a lot of ways in flux, given that there's more and more content being produced on given topics, and your content is likely to be decaying or losing relevance over time. So all in all, lots of things going on and lots of things that you need to consider. A lot of the main benefits that we've been adding to Clearscope have been designed to help you understand, audit, and maintain your existing content seamlessly. So right here, what you're seeing is a Google Search Console import that maps to whichever page segments that you want to track and monitor within content inventory. You'll see in the GIF, right? You come here when you select or create a project within Clearscope. What we're doing is we're giving you the ability to then add whichever page segments in this GIF right there. We just added, our blog. And what Clearscope is doing is that we're taking then all of the pages within that segment and we are auditing it. We are trying to figure out the best query that piece of content should rank for, which looks at your Google Search Console data. It also leverages large language model technology. And we're grading it. We're trying to find the value of it, the performance, and all of this happens very seamlessly out of the box. So this is a great improvement to, what we had before, which is more of a manual, okay, add this page and that page, then figure out, what keyword or query we want to hone in on. All of this just happens automatically. Amanda, any question or any thoughts
Only
before?
thing I would add is if you haven't tried this yet, please go in and try it. I am loving it myself. So I take care of managing and like managing the hygiene and content production at Clearscope. And it's been wonderful to just have them automatically added. I don't have to remember an extra step in my content publishing process where I have to like go in the next day or once Google Search Console index the URL and like pop it in there. So it's all happening automatically, and you can kind of set up guidelines about what categories of your site that you would like them automatically to enroll in your Clearscope inventory. And it's also great because you don't have to sift through like, okay, what query should I be selecting, which would be the best, one to target and monitor for this page. We have help that is automatic now for you, which is awesome. Like I'm loving it. It's saving me so much time. So such a time saver.
Such a time saver. Yes, which then brings us to, the core benefit that you get from seamlessly importing all of your pages, which is the fact that you can now very easily detect content issues and opportunities with our starter content views. So you'll know these as best opportunities, internal linking, and no, technical errors. These are the first three. And starter content views gives you visibility on what's working and what's not. You can see here in the GIF that we're looking at the internal linking. Oh, we were the internal linking one. And all of these are columns where you can see, okay, if a page is struggling or running into, say, some technical errors, like the one here, it'll automatically get added to this content view should it match whatever the filter is that you're looking for. So, this then gives you a very granular view on the different opportunities, issues that you are likely wanting to consider. And you can see that you can customize, each one on your own for your own tastes. So, technical errors just looks at, okay, if these have, any errors associated with them, but you could also further go in and say, let me add a filter to say, give me, all the pages where they have a technical error and they match, my blog because that's what I'm responsible for. So starter views are simply designed to give you starter templates, which then you can use to customize your own metrics and diagnose what you want to diagnose out of your content inventory. Amanda, over to you. Any thoughts here?
The only thing I would add is not only do I love this, which I mean, obviously I'm biased. I work for Clearscope, but I also used it quite some time before I started working for Clearscope in-house. But this feature is really, really awesome. I love the best opportunities starter content view. I think this is a wonderful like alert or bucket of content that if you have a freelancer who has extra time that month, they've already like worked through a couple of their assigned articles, and you're like, okay, I still have maybe like some hours with them or credits with them on their retainer. What can I work on next that my content really needs? And Clearscope as a tool is now surfacing up for you. Hey, we know you have a content strategy that you're working and an SEO strategy that you're working, but here are your best opportunities to perhaps tackle next to grow and protect your traffic. So it's a really easy, quick wins that are automatically surfaced for you where you don't have to go digging and like, okay, what should I assign next to so-and-so? Like what refresh needs to be done next? You're getting those automatically suggested for you there, which is just like, again, like time saver, right?
Huge time saver.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And we'll dive into helping you create some of your own in just a bit. But yes, then that's what's next, right? Is that then you can monitor your content the way that you want. And this is brand new. It's live today. You're hearing it, like 1 hour after it's released. But you can see here that your columns are now editable, and you'll find that in your pages view, where in the right-hand thing on the right, you can edit columns. And that means that you can select, which columns matter to you and which metrics matter to you. So in this example, right, what I'm doing is I'm going ahead and taking a template and creating my own content view. This one specifically is looking at, right, pages where my position is less than 10. I know less than in position is a little bit of an awkward kind of thing, but less than 10 means, anything that's basically on the front page. So as you can see here, I then went ahead, created the content view for gained front page rankings. And that's to say that anytime any page becomes position less than 10, we would say that that page has gained front page rankings. Now, vice versa, right? You can flip that to say, okay, if the position is greater than 10, then that means that a page has lost front page rankings. And a lot of the times, that's some of the KPIs or goals that you're being tasked with when managing and diagnosing your content. So just one of many different ideas, right? I think, another way you could potentially architect this is by doing 7-day position is, less than 3. And that would then give you a view where, any page that loses top 3 rankings, gets added to that page, or content view, which means that then you can then get, further insights to say, oh, yes, maybe I should go back to, this page because it's lost front page rankings, it's lost top 3 rankings, and obviously you can combo that again with all kinds of different filters and sorts that are very specific to the goals that you want. Amanda, any other observations here?
The only thing that I might add is you now can see you now have the ability to see more data here per URL, which you can use the horizontal scrolling feature. So whatever data is most important to you to regularly have an eye on, that's what you're going to use that edit columns feature for. And Bernard, I'm assuming that we'll probably go a little bit more into the custom content views next. Oh yeah. Oh, here they are. So here is the data that you can sort your content inventory by. And we will put out an article today or tomorrow that we'll send along the link to all of you. So that way you have this to take a look at. But standard data that you can sort your inventory by, organize your inventory by. I also love to organize any content library or inventory I'm working with by topics. So you can, configure your report and then filter out topics, create content views. So some might call those content buckets or content segments. It's however you want to report on and see your content. You can configure the data that you'd like to see for whatever topics or content types, save that view, and now you have a one-click easy button that is saved in your Clearscope content inventory, and you can just click the button. Way easier than GA4, light years easier than and cleaner than GA4. And then you can just hit that little bitty export button, send it to your stakeholders, and it's like, hey, look, here's how this topic is doing, how this topic is doing, here's how our bottom of funnel content is doing, our top of funnel content is doing. It's so beautiful, especially if you like to organize your pages by like different types and topics and all of that. So I'm a big fan. I mean, Bernard, I know you and I have talked about this excitedly. We're very excited that everyone has access now.
Yes, we have been testing this internally, making sure we get the nuts and bolts right. And that's to say that this is the starter list of metrics that we believe you want to customize your content views on. And we're looking to add more. And so as you start building your own content views, definitely keep us in the loop, right? There's all kinds of different things that, we're thinking about, and maybe, a 3-month click metric is important to you. Maybe, it's a month over month growth, percentage growth that's interesting to you. You let us know, and we are taking, feedback to see how we can make this even better. And just know that, all of this is leading to, well, what's to come in just a second. But yes, this is the list of starter metrics. The last part to talk about here is that plans are now very flexible, and we call these plan add-ons. And the idea behind this is that, when Clearscope first started, we were a single feature tool, and we sold content reports. Those are the text editor optimized experience that all of you are very familiar with. And since then, we've realized that, if we want to offer the ability to monitor and protect your existing content through content inventory pages, that, people need a lot of flexibility in terms of building out their content inventories, right? A larger website might need 2,000 pages, whereas, a local service or small B2B company might only need 100. Instead of, having to add a lot of friction on your part to talk with, somebody on the Clearscope team, we instead have evolved the Clearscope ecosystem to be a platform and usage-based model. What this allows you to do is to simply add pages over your limit, and we'll go ahead and assign what we call add-ons to your account. This will work for pages and soon to be reports as well. And we do strongly believe that this additional level of customizability and flexibility is actually just net better. Like maybe 1 month you are an agency and you sign on 5 new clients. In that month, instead of needing to upgrade your plan, you can just simply run all of the content reports that you need, scale up your account, and then say the next month that changes and you no longer need, as much content reports, that your plan would just simply, ratchet back down, and all of that would be really good to go. So plans are now customizable, flexible with add-ons, and that's just a core part of how our platform works now. All right, then on to previewing what's to come. And all of this is to say that the goal of content inventory is really to help you protect and monitor and grow your existing content inventory, right? Recognizing that, again, the maintenance of a content inventory is very challenging. By then adding what we call alerts to content views, you can set up alerts on any content view to get notified when things happen. So a good example of this, just in the screenshot that you have here, is that let's say a bunch of content has decayed recently, and decay is both a function of, the content grade has, say, lost quite a few grades, going from an A+ to a B+. Also, more importantly, let's say that your traffic to that page has lost, 30%, 40% from the last couple of months. Well, you could create a content view where you have a filter that says, okay, let's make sure that in this particular example, URL contains blog, the content grades are B- or worse, and the overall clicks are trending down. So in this case, we can then say, oh, that page got added to the content view filter. And now when the page gets added, we'll send you an email and say, hey, this page just got added to content decay. You should probably do something about it. You can then take this as an idea and extend it into all kinds of different scenarios that you want to track, monitor, and just have peace of mind on. So let's say you're working on a large team. There is a whole developer ecosystem around your content management system, and they messed something up, right? Maybe a page got redirected, a page got 404'd, or is no longer indexed. You can easily set up a content view alert on technical errors to say, okay, well, anytime a page gets added to technical errors, send me an email, and you get alerted to that particular page that is no longer found, no longer indexed, redirected somewhere else. One more example is the content losing relevance, right? So we all know that, again, for the most part, most SEO content is not set it and forget it. Topics are in flux, just given how society works. And so searcher intent is likely to shift over time. Topics are likely to also evolve over time. And just because you published something, say, 3 months ago, doesn't necessarily mean that that content is still serving searchers in the most meaningful and comprehensive way. So here we have the best opportunities content view, and you can set up an alert to say, okay, well, anytime a page gets added to best opportunities, that means that the content grade has become B- or worse, then alert me. And this is designed to then give you this proactive way to monitor and think about your content in a way that previously wasn't possible, right? Like current sort of ways of thinking about this are very reactive, and they're mostly based off of rank tracking, right? Chances are you might use some sort of tool, you import in 500 keywords, and then you get something happens and you lose, let's say 50 of your keywords drop by 10 rankings. Well, that's a very reactive way to think about it, but that's what a lot of people do, right? They say they get their rank tracking report and like, oh man, we just lost a bunch of rankings. Oh crap, we got to do something about it. But this is a more proactive way to think about it, right? Like your content might lose relevancy first. It's probably likely that that happens. And then, right, when the Google algorithm update eventually happens, that's when you get penalized or punished because your content has lost relevancy. This is then a way to get ahead of it, recognizing that, well, content evolves and decays at different cadences, obviously, depending on the topic. And this is going to alert you to say, hey, your content has lost relevancy, go fix it before you lose the rankings, the traffic, and all of that stuff. All right, Amanda, any other thoughts, comments here?
I don't have anything much to add actually, but the only thing I would say is I really appreciate how notifications are so adaptable. Like they can be unique to what I need to see as a user of Clearscope, which is great. And so I don't have to be burdened by emails and notifications that don't matter to me. I can set ones that specifically I'm most interested in. And I really appreciate like if the content grade is lost, which does indicate possibly the topic is evolved or your competitors updating your content, you can be so proactive to jumping on that as fast as possible to protect that organic traffic that you have worked hard to earn. So it's something that remind me, Bernard, how often is it kind of like, is our data in the content inventory updated like every night, basically at the same rate as Google Search Console data, correct?
Yes, we update every 24 hours, just on a rolling cadence. It could be night, it could be morning. It's really
Yeah,
tough to
yeah.
say.
Gotcha. Yeah, depending on your time zone, really. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I think that's what's really wonderful about this is this as soon as something moves into even a slight decline or has some kind of movement that you want to be alerted to, you're going to get that alert so that you can stay on top of everything and make sure your content is what you want it and need it to be.
There you have it. Yes. So stuff happens. You get notified with alerts, customize them based on your content view, right? I when I do think about, content views, I just get super excited because I think that a lot of the traditional tools are done in a specific manner with a specific infrastructure. And because, we were able to revisit this much further along, I think that, the content view ecosystem is actually just like a much better, much more holistic way to give insight into existing content performance. And, everybody else has these like, lists and CSV exports and all of that, but we got to reinvent a little bit, what this means for you. And I think that, this whole thing coming together has been really awesome. And we hope that, you love all of the features that the Clearscope team has been proudly working on.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty exciting.
pretty exciting. That leads us to possibilities in terms of, what we can work on next. And I'm bringing these up again at like the bird's eye view level. And I want to get y'all's insights on, what points in your workflow, what sorts of problems that you would love to see Clearscope potentially help with. So let's kick things off with if we're thinking about the content workflow, right? It starts generally, at least traditionally, with keyword research. Keyword research has obviously, been the tried and true methodology of how people have thought about SEO content for a very long time. But fast forward to today, it's very clear that Google's algorithm is no longer keyword centric, doesn't necessarily care too much about, monthly search volume anymore, and, cares a lot about other things like topical authority, brand authority, how your existing content is performing, what are the gaps in, what you've published, and where can you improve. So one big area, right, if we're thinking about this whole SEO content lifecycle, is how do we help content teams understand what to write about next? And given all of the innovation that has happened with large language models, you can see here, there's all kinds of different ways that we can gather insights on what we should write about. I mean, on the left, you see a screenshot of Gemini, where I'm simply asking, Google, essentially, what topics we're authoritative in. And Google is coming back and saying, yeah, content optimization, keyword research, SEO writing, content analysis, competitive analysis. You can see on the right, I have a screenshot where I've exported our top 1,000 queries from Google Search Console, and I've asked Claude to cluster them together and sum up all of the aggregate, clicks we've received over, the time period that I selected. And you can see here that Claude, after aggregating our top 1,000 queries, has thought that, we're authoritative in Clearscope, clearly, Google Knowledge Panel, SEO content optimization, keyword research, SEO ranch style, AI content writing, information gain, SEO. So you can see here, there's actually a pretty strong correlation between asking Gemini what Clearscope's authoritative in, and also gathering insight and intelligence out of our Google Search Console. I think what this represents to me is an opportunity to create more content within SEO content optimization, keyword research, because we are already established in those particular topics. If we're to create content in those particular topics, then I think we're just going to do very well. So this way of thinking about your content strategy or what to create new leverages what you're already established in, rather than just looking at keywords, search volumes, and this like loose, I'm gonna say I was gonna say dying idea of keyword difficulty. But yes, I think it's an evolving idea of keyword difficulty. Next up, this is another way that we can help you understand what to write about. This one follows the more traditional keyword clustering idea, right? So number one, we're all used to going to tools, whether they be Clearscope or others, to get a list of keywords with associated monthly searches, which is what you see on the right in terms of the spreadsheet. On the left, you can see here, this is Claude, but it's not too hard these days to say, okay, given a list of keywords and associated monthly searches, why don't we cluster them together by semantic similarity, which is what you see me typing in over there. You'll see here, right, Claude will come back and say, okay, this is, a list of terms around content marketing. And, content marketing generally 155,000, content marketing strategy 27,000, services and agencies 16,000. So you get this very easily digestible set of subtopics within your core topic that you can target, and we can easily give insights into these as cluster categories for you to pursue. Before I move on to the next step of the content workflow, Amanda, any thoughts on these?
I don't have any thoughts, but we do have a question from Brian that popped up.
Cool.
And it's about are alert notifications going to be email only? So we were talking about the alerts before, how we can set up custom alerts in Clearscope. Are there any other options like RSS for those with different workflows?
Yeah, it's a good question. Initially, it's going to be email first. And then I think there are other ways that we can do it. I think an in-app notification obviously makes sense as another, key component. But yeah, I would say if RSS is a very important part, we can definitely take that feedback into consideration alongside other mechanisms for alerting. Other things that we've loosely just talked about would be like, sending a Slack message. Let's see, what else is there? Yeah, mainly that, but it's going to be email first. And, if that's not working for you, then let us know, and we can revisit what mediums could make sense. Cool. All right. So if figuring out what to write next is generally, twofold. Number one is, okay, how are we performing with existing content, and how does that then inform what we should write about next? And the other one is, okay, out of everything that we could target, what are topic categories that we could pursue? Well, the next part of your content workflow is writing the content. Obviously, writing the content has changed dramatically from a workflow perspective, given everything happening with LLMs. We still strongly believe that human-led, subject matter expert-driven content is what's going to work in the future. That is more likely to contribute information gain, which is, new first-party data to the topic that just overall is better for users and readers. So the idea would then be to augment or help you as the content creators with creating better content, but not replacing the need for subject matter expertise. You'll see then on the right, the idea would be to put in some, sort of AI assistance that's able to allow you to prompt the artificial intelligence that is then trained on both the search engine results data and your existing content inventory. You'll see here, that would then allow you to go back and forth, ideate, on the questions. It can get into, AI outline creation, headings, title, recommendations, descriptions, summarizations, right? There's all kinds of different ways to go about it that, again, have been enabled by LLM technology. Next up is, okay, well, you've published your content. It graded A+++, and well, it is no longer doing as well because, again, content needs to evolve as topics evolve. So you can see here that what I have a screenshot of is a piece of content that we published a long time ago where it's decayed quite a bit. And if you've ever updated content, you know that it's a chore, right? It's hard to go into existing content that maybe you wrote, maybe some other team member wrote before you. And it's oftentimes like pulling teeth. Sometimes you just want to bulldoze the whole piece of content, start anew. And who really likes revising poor, underperforming content? It's challenging. So the idea would be to give you a way to refresh existing content in a fairly seamless manner. We know why your content grade has slipped because, right, the entities surrounding the topic has changed. So we can easily is maybe not the right word, but we can help you by taking that existing content and reorienting it and updating it to include the up-to-date entities where the topic could be evolving.
We did have a question that came in back related to content decay. So does the content grade change as the content decays? So like it's automatically changing within the inventory as it decays over time?
Yeah, it does. It doesn't always, but every day we are taking the snapshot of how the page is performing in terms of the traffic. Every month we are updating the grading rubric against the search engine results page. So oftentimes, you're going to start to see that the decline of a piece of content correlates with a content grade, but not always, right? Sometimes a decline in traffic is simply caused by seasonality, right? If you're like, oh, Black Friday deals, yeah, you're going to see your content decay, right after Black Friday is over from a traffic perspective. So that's why, right, all three of these columns like matter to get the full picture. You have your clicks and you go, okay, well, that's going down. Is it because it's seasonality? And it's like, should you use AI generated content? Probably not. I mean, yes, perhaps the AI hype has died off a little bit, but this feels more like a loss in relevancy. Our screenshot currently says A- because Amanda has gone back and retouched this, I think like a month ago, which is why you're starting to see a little bit of revival. But I think when you touched it, this was grading at least in the B's, if not in the C's for sure. Another yes, possibility. This is just alongside the deeper content diagnostics, which is now made possible through editable columns, right? There's, again, all kinds of different reasons and metrics that we as SEO content folk are have to take a look at, right? Sometimes, again, it's more of a technical concern. Broken links happen not because of anything you did, but if you're linking out to, say, a .gov resource and that page breaks, well, you'd probably want to be notified. So we can get into that. Branded and unbranded is something that we've talked about as well, which is to say that, yes, of course, Clearscope is going to perform well for Clearscope related terms, but it would be great to see, is our branded authority or queries rising, or is it our unbranded? And being able to split those out would be actually really cool, really interesting. Also, authorship is another possibility where, we can extract, the authorship from the articles within your content inventory, and then we can give you a way to then build content views to say, okay, this was written by Bernard, this was written by Amanda, and then we can group those together and be like, oh, wow, whatever Amanda writes is gold, and whatever Bernard writes, like, not so good. So all kinds of different things that we can do, but deeper content diagnostics definitely, up for a discussion and idea. Next up would be performance reports, right? As Amanda has mentioned, GA4 is kind of a disaster. Google Search Console is kind of a disaster in another way, but it is very simple, very hard to like actually group together what you want. So with performance reports, or what you see in content inventory analytics, this is then giving you, more customizability, more insights into how each one of your content views is doing. Above this screenshot, you can't really see it, but that's where all the content views would live. So you can then go and say, okay, how is my, cluster on AI performing? And, I know internally we have a very robust set of those that we monitor and check on ourselves. But this would then unlock, even more things where the goal is you can take a screenshot of it, of this particular user interface, and, you want to share this with, your manager, your boss, within a performance report that you're creating for a client, right? This would be the way that we go about doing this. Last one. This one's a little bit further out there in terms of, ideas, but it's something that Amanda and I have been dabbling with. And it's the fact that, yeah, when you produce content and you grade it within Clearscope, your primary goal or concern is to optimize the content for search. But, like I think Ross Simmons comes to mind, but create once, distribute forever. And it holds true, I would say, now more than ever, right? People don't necessarily just subscribe to search, right? They participate in online communities, whether that be Reddit or private Slack channels. They're hanging out on X or Threads or LinkedIn, and they're getting emails from you. So it becomes possible for us to actually help you streamline your content orchestration. And the whole goal would be to maximize your content visibility by giving you very easily, different content formats that are repurposed for other distribution channels, right? I know this because we try to promote, our webinars across the board on X, on LinkedIn. We send an email newsletter, which is, how you might have heard about this. And then we'll post these to, different Slack communities. And each specific one is all based on the same root content, which is, whether it's a webinar or a piece of content, and we can easily help you streamline this particular process. Okay, well, that's what I got covered, and let's open it up for any questions, thoughts about anything.
So far, we have answered the questions that came in live, but if anyone else wants to drop any other questions in, we are all ears. And then there was the one question that was submitted ahead of time, Bernard. And I can go ahead and read that one to you now. But this person submitted that they're very interested about information gain in particular. How would they integrate it, or how to integrate information gain with the entity recommendations on the RHS of a typical report? So let's see. Sorry, everyone. I'm looking at my second monitor to make sure I'm capturing their intent fully. Yeah, how would you apply this for like non-branded commercial search intents as far as like incorporating information gain along with like entity recommendations?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I am working on a presentation for this conference that is happening next month. It's called Ahrefs Evolve, and it's an in-depth analysis on information gain, whether it's factor or fiction. So I'll jump to the nuts and bolts of how this investigation is going, and I will leave it at that so that we can answer some more questions. Long story short, Google's search model is extraordinarily complicated. Like this. This is a depiction of how, Mario like took the Google Leaks API and summed it up into, all the different microservices and moving parts with the algorithm. You'll see here, I don't know if I can, oh, I can. You can see here, right, if I zoom in, there's this concept of entities and knowledge graph that is, one of the databases that, Google appears to care a lot about. What I believe to be happening is that, let's see, yes, this is that Google does very much so care a lot about entities and knowledge graph comprehension. A good then way to visualize how all of this works is to take a query. In this example, it'd be what is user generated content. And I took the output from Google and I stuck it into Google's own natural language processor and extracted a list of entities like blog post and Burberry from this response. You'll see here that when we look at the overall amount of entity occurrence within the AI overview, it's a 33% occurrence. So 1 out of every 3 words provided, and you can kind of see here, is actually an entity, right? So this then allows us to start to think about things again from like a pure knowledge graph association. I then took the entities and I clustered them together based off of topical relevance. And you can see here that the nodes that are green are essentially the ones that have high connectivity between different entities that the AI overview has mentioned. So brand, social media, advertising, content, value, UGC, and users are core categorical concerns for this particular topic. I then further went and, well, doing large entity mappings is very computationally expensive. So I basically, took it and said, okay, just give me the straight categories. So again, we have brands, social media platforms, marketing concepts, content types, business outcomes. And this is how the high level categories of what the entities are alluding to for this particular topic. What we then did is that we took, yeah, this is me, I think, showing that this is how, this came to be in terms of the entities that we got. So I then took this and ran the same thing across the top 4 results, including the AI overview. And then you can see here on the right that these are then the high level topics that are associated with each one of the top ranking results, right? Rank number 1 also talks about brands. Rank number 2 also talks about brands. Rank number 3 also brands. Rank number 4 also brands. The really, piece that drives it all home is this particular slide, where you can see that everybody in the top results, right, AI overview, rank 1, 2, 3, and 4, all mention something related to brands. In the light green, you have, social media, you have marketing concepts, you have customer experience, UGC, content types, business outcomes, and then you start to get into the, more sparsely populated ones like business and financial terms, metrics and analytics is only 2 and 4, role and jobs only 2 and 4, and then you can see here only rank number 2 talks about legal and ethical considerations. So all of this is to say that I believe that information gain is twofold. Number 1, I think that it is very clear that Google has a semantic SEO check on entities given the knowledge graph. And when I say given the knowledge graph, that is why I'm using the AI overview, like most specifically, because the AI overview is going to be the best way to think about what Google's knowledge graph for that particular topic looks like, which is this, right? It's brands, social media, advertising, content, UGC, users, and value. So I think it's very clear that semantic SEO comprehension is a complete core part of how Google evaluates content that is worthy enough to go through, this amount of data processing. So probably, top 10 to top 100 results. From there, and this is how, in how the Google API leaks works. It says, the information gain of content features when selecting the splitting feature to split the node. So it is clear that Google indeed does use information gain as a concept in some way, shape, or form. I think that first, you must prove to Google that you are an authority on the topic. Second, you must then prove to Google that the content you've produced is actually covering the basics of what Google expects your content to cover. From there, you then get to contribute your information gain. And I think that this is where the puzzle gets a little bit more loose. And I think you can actually contribute whatever you feel is meaningful. And Google will respect that because you've qualified to influence Google's perspective on that particular knowledge. So to sum it up, I think that you need to be comprehensive enough to prove to Google that your content should be in the top results. And from there, you start to qualify to be able to influence where the topic is heading. And then Google will then further validate that with user engagement signal. Put in layman's terms, grade A+ in Clearscope, and then add more to that particular document.
And when we say add more, like fresh perspectives, first party data, interviews, like things that your target audience wants to see that adds to the conversation and isn't just further consensus or copycat content.
That's right. And then, yeah, just to drive it a little bit home more, right? You can see here that we do some more analysis where Zoe recently got penalized on some rankings. They lost for keto food. So I took it, same approach, analyzed it with natural language processing. That is what Clearscope does as well. I need to make this, more apparent. Then, compared which concepts were present between the different lists. List 1 is Zoe, list 2 is Healthline, which is the current rank number 1. If you then graph the overall categorical coverage between Zoe, which is list 1, and Healthline, which is the green bar, you see a very distinct overlap in coverage that Healthline is completely dominant in, except for scientific terms. But overall, it's way more entity rich and entity focused. So this is what we're more or less seeing happen within SERPs.
Well, thank you for answering that question that was submitted ahead of time. We are almost at the hour, but we have 2 more questions that we received live. So we have a quick question, like a rapid fire question, and then we have a spicy question.
Oh, perfect.
Chris asks, does Clearscope use Google's NLP or a third-party NLP?
Yes, we use actually a combination of 3 NLPs, including Google Cloud, OpenAI, and IBM Watson. So that's really designed to give you the most robust, accurate sense of recommendations within our platform.
Okay. And then we have another question submitted by Dan. So what are your thoughts about Ahrefs' new content helper that grades by subtopic rather than the overall article? And from what I understand, I haven't used it myself, but I believe they made the announcement earlier this week about their AI content helper.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, From what I understand from the announcement, again, I have not used it myself. It sounds very ssimilar in what
Mhm.
we do, but yeah, do you have any thoughts or do we want to wait to try it before we, you know,
Yeah,
feedback?
I've tried. When I was trying to try it like a couple days ago, it was broken. But it's in beta, so all of that. Yeah, I don't have any concrete thoughts here. Obviously, content master, hrefs, Clearscope. Yeah, like they published a study earlier this year saying it's unlikely, even though Clearscope on as a whole scored the best in terms of the correlation, and people have said, okay, well, 0.3 is actually very strongly correlated. Um, so, anyways, I don't have really strong opinions or thoughts about it. I do know that this has come to be live in the last like couple of days. So yeah, I would say I don't have a strong opinion one way or another. No, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, we are at the hour. So are we ready to wrap up? We did receive one more quick question from Chris about positional, but I mean, I believe that we both dug into positional a bit as well
Mhm.
and kind of similar thoughts.
Yeah. The thoughts when we dug into positional were that everything appeared to be kind of a SEMrush like layering, right? So they try to do a lot of things. A lot of the data comes from SEMrush. In terms of their content grader, like overall, I mean, yes, we are biased, but overall, we did feel like the outputs there were just very mediocre at best. And then, if anything, the one thing that positional seemed like it did well was a AI content detection, but we ourselves have tested numerous AI content detection softwares, and we have walked away feeling that most of them are very inaccurate, just very flimsy in terms of their overall like ability to output, which is why our general stance is, does it matter? But, that is something that we continue to think about internally as well.
Well, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Bernard, and leading us through all of that. Thanks to all who answered the poll today, and we'll definitely collect your thoughts and consider them as we move forward to create new features. And as always, you can email us at support@clearscope.io if you have feature needs, feature ideas, questions about what we covered today, and we'll send you a roundup of everything once this video is processed.
Well, thank you all so much. See y'all next week. No, we don't have a webinar next week. In a
October
couple of weeks.
3rd. Oh, you know
Yes.
what? That reminds me. Well, I'll send it out in an email, the next
Yes.
webinars that are available. But I am excited. There's some cool stuff coming up. So I'm really, really excited about it. Thank you all for attending.
All right. See y'all.
Bye.